Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our goal here is always to take powerful ideas, break them down, and make them genuinely useful for you.
That's right.
Today we're diving into, well, a really foundational philosophy of achievement. It's a framework built over years, looking at hundreds of successful people, sparked initially by Andrew Carnegie himself.
Exactly. We're unpacking what this source material lays out as the 13 steps to riches. And this isn't just, positive thinking in a vacuum. It's presented as a very rigorous process. How do you take an abstract thought and turn it into a concrete result?
Right.
Our mission today is to look at those core principles, the practical steps, really focusing on this idea that thoughts are things, but crucially, only when they're backed by intense feeling and real-world action.
And that core idea, thoughts are things, that's really the jumping off point, isn't it?
It has to be.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Every single physical thing around you, every company, every big achievement, it all started as just an idea, an intangible spark in someone's head. The real challenge, and what this philosophy tackles head on, is how you actually bridge that gap. How do you take that spark and, well, force it into becoming something real and lasting?
It all starts with the very first principle, desire. But, and this is critical, it can't just be a wish. It needs to be what they call a burning desire.
Yeah.
And it has to be absolutely definite.
Yeah, definite, not vague. And there's this fantastic story, almost legendary, about Edwin C. Barnes and Thomas Edison that just perfectly captures this intensity.
Oh, the barn story, yes.
Barnes didn't just casually think, maybe I could get a job with Edison. No, his desire was incredibly specific. He wanted to work with Edison as a partner, an associate, not just be another employee on the payroll.
And you have to remember the context. This wasn't someone with connections or resources. He faced huge obstacles right away.
Totally.
Didn't know Edison, didn't even have the train fare to get to Orange, New Jersey, where Edison's lab was. Now, most people would just stop there, right? Ah, well, guess it wasn't meant to be.
Gave up.
But Barnes, he apparently saw it as just a temporary problem to solve. He actually traveled by blind baggage. He stowed away on a freight train. Think about that level of commitment. It's desperation mixed with this incredible faith.
So he finally gets there, shows up at Edison's office, and Edison later said Barnes looked like an ordinary tramp.
Yeah, not exactly dressed for success.
But, and this is the crucial detail that it is said, the look on his face, the expression, it just screamed determination, this fierce, unwavering resolve to get what he came for. Edison saw that psychological commitment immediately.
And that intensity, that's the non-negotiable first step. Edison's insight was, look, when a man desires something so intensely that he's willing to stake his entire future on getting it, well, he's bound to succeed.
So Barnes got a chance. Not the partnership, not right away, but he got his foot in the door. Why? Because he showed up radiating this all-consuming desire, what the philosophy calls a dominating obsession.
Exactly. He'd essentially burned his bridges. There was no plan B. Failure just wasn't an option in his mind.
It's such a powerful illustration. The difference between just wishing for something and being absolutely determined to make it happen no matter what. Okay, so you have this burning desire, but how do you translate that feeling into, well, actual money or results? This is where the source material gets really practical. It lays out 6 very specific steps.
Yes, these 6 steps are the nuts and bolts, the framework, and they demand specificity. That's why just vaguely wanting more money never really works.
All right, step 1. You have to fix the exact CT amount of money you desire. Not a lot, not more, a specific number.
Crucial. Your mind needs a target.
Step 2. Determine precisely what you intend to give in return for that money. What service, what value, what product. There has to be an exchange. You have to define your contribution.
Makes sense. Step 3, fix a definite date. When do you intend to have this money? Again, be specific. A deadline forces focus.
Step 4, create a definite plan to get it. And here's the kicker. Maybe start acting on that plan immediately, whether you feel ready or not, whether the plan is perfect or not. Just start.
Yeah, that act now part trips people up. They wait for perfection. Step 5. Write it all down. A clear, concise statement. The amount, the service, the date, the plan. Get it out of your head and onto paper.
Okay, and now step 6. This is where, honestly, it gets a bit metaphysical and maybe where a lot of people drop off. You have to read that written statement aloud twice a day, just before sleeping and right when you wake up.
And it's not just reading words off a page. As you read it, you have to actively see, feel, and believe that you already possess the money. This is absolutely vital.
Why? Why is that feeling part so important?
Because, according to this philosophy, the subconscious mind is the engine here. It's what drives your actions, your intuition, your energy. And it apparently only responds to thoughts that are well emotionalized with belief.
Ah, okay. So a cold intellectual thought doesn't have the same power.
Exactly. It needs that emotional charge, that conviction. This is how you cultivate what they call money consciousness. You're essentially programming your subconscious.
So it's about deliberately creating a mental state where your mind is just saturated with the desire and the belief that it's already yours or on its way. So you start noticing opportunities you'd otherwise miss.
Precisely. You're overriding doubt and skepticism with definite positive commands, repeated with strong feeling. It's autosuggestion, essentially.
Okay, so desire is the fire, the 6 steps of the plan. But achieving anything significant takes time. It requires persistence.
Absolutely. And the source material has this incredibly stark anecdote about quitting too soon. It's about a guy named R.U. Darby and his experience with gold mining.
Oh, the 3 feet from gold story. Yeah, that one sticks with you.
It really does. So Darby and his uncle, they strike gold, they find a vein, they get excited, invest heavily in machinery to extract it, and then, poof, the vein disappears.
He's gone.
Vanished. They keep digging, drilling, searching. Nothing. Weeks go by. Finally, Darby gives up, totally discouraged, sells all the expensive machinery to a local junk man for pennies on the dollar, packs up, goes home, defeated.
And then comes the painful part.
Oh, yeah. The junk man, being shrewd, decides to call in a mining engineer before scrapping the equipment, just to check.
Mm-hmm.
The engineer does some calculations, figures out there was a slight fault shift, and locates the gold vein again. Just 3 feet from where Darby had stopped digging.
3 feet. He literally quit 3 feet from a fortune. Ouch.
It's brutal, right? It's such a powerful lesson about persistence, about how close you might be when you feel like giving up. The difference between failure and success can be that small.
And Darby apparently learned from it. He carried that lesson into his next career, selling life insurance.
He did. He said every time a prospect told him no, he just pictured himself stopping 3 feet from gold. He made a resolution. I will never stop because men say no.
Wow. Talk about turning a failure into fuel.
And to really hammer home this idea of persistence, there's another little story they tell called the 50-cent lesson in persistence. Now, the language used in the original account to describe the child involved is very much of its era. But the lesson itself is about the act of demanding, not the person. The point is the intensity of the persistence shown.
Got it. So what happened?
This small child was sent by her mother to collect 50 cents from Darby's uncle. The uncle apparently refused, got angry, yelled at the child to go away, but the child didn't budge.
Stood her ground.
Absolutely. Stood right there, looked him in the eye, and just kept demanding, screaming, according to the story, "Mom, Emmy's gotta have that 50 cents!" Just this relentless, unwavering demand that simply would not be denied.
And the uncle eventually gave in, right?
He did. That sheer, unrelenting persistence won, and Darby learned from that too.
That kind of persistence, that refusal to quit, it feels like it has to be connected to faith, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Believing it's possible even when things look bleak.
Exactly. Faith is described as the eternal elixir that gives life and power to thought. And again, this isn't necessarily religious faith in the conventional sense. It's defined as a state of mind.
A state of mind you can cultivate.
Yes, one that can be induced through autosuggestion. By repeatedly affirming a belief to your subconscious mind, especially with emotion, you can eventually come to accept it as fact, whether it started out true or not.
So you're essentially building belief through deliberate practice and repetition, like creating a self-fulfilling prophecy anchored in action.
That's a good way to put it. And that's why the philosophy emphasizes that those who just keep on keeping on, especially after setbacks, often find that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. You learn something, you get stronger, you find a new path.
Okay, so we've got desire, a plan, persistence, faith. What about knowledge? You need to know things, right?
You do, but here's where the philosophy challenges conventional thinking about education. It argues that knowledge by itself is only potential power.
Potential power, meaning it's useless until applied.
Pretty much, it's inert. It only becomes actual power when it's organized into definite plans of action and directed towards a specific goal. Just having a head full of facts doesn't guarantee success.
And this leads to the famous Henry Ford story, right? When he was in court.
Exactly. He was being questioned, sort of cross-examined about his lack of general education, trying to paint him as ignorant.
And Ford's response was brilliant.
It was. He basically said, "Why should I clutter my mind with general knowledge when I have," and I quote, "a row of electric push buttons on my desk.
Meaning he could summon experts.
Precisely. He could push a button and get someone on the line who had the specialized knowledge he needed for any particular problem. Instantly.
So true education, in this view, isn't about knowing everything yourself. It's about knowing where to get the knowledge you need when you need it.
And, crucially, knowing how to organize that knowledge and direct it effectively. This is where the concept of the mastermind group comes in.
The mastermind. Explain that.
It's defined as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people working together in a spirit of perfect harmony towards a definite purpose.
So it's like a synergistic team,
Yeah.
combining brain power.
Exactly. It allows a leader to leverage specialized knowledge from others without having to possess it all personally. Think of it as creating a collective intelligence focused on a goal.
Okay, so you use knowledge, maybe specialized knowledge from your mastermind group, and you apply it to what? An idea.
To a sound idea, yes. The power of a good idea, when properly executed, can be immense. Think about the enchanted kettle story.
The secret formula for the famous cola drink.
That's the one. Apparently, the formula itself was bought for just $500, a tiny sum.
Wow.
But that idea, that intangible formula, when combined with planning and capital, built a massive fortune and even funded a major university. An idea was the seed.
It really highlights that value isn't always tangible, but turning an idea into money requires organized planning, right? Especially if the product is yourself, your skills, your services.
Absolutely. And there's a great example of this with a woman who helped her son get a job after college. She didn't just have him send out resumes.
What did she do?
She had him create this incredibly detailed, almost 50-page plan book.
50 pages for a job application.
Yeah. It wasn't just a list of qualifications. It meticulously outlined the specific services he could offer the company, how he could benefit them, his definite plan for contributing, and exactly why he deserved the specific salary and position he was aiming for.
That's intense preparation.
It worked. He apparently landed a junior executive role and the salary he wanted at his very first interview. The planning bypassed potentially 10 years of starting at the bottom and working his way up.
That really demonstrates the QQS formula they talk about for selling personal services.
Right. Quality of service plus quantity of service plus the proper spirit of cooperation.
And that spirit of cooperation seems key. Viewing the employer-employee relationship as a partnership, not adversarial.
Yes, and realizing that ultimately both the employer and employee are working to serve the public, the customer, the market. That's the real boss who determines success or failure through their demand.
Okay, so you can have the desire, the plan, the knowledge, the persistence, but things can still go wrong. What are the biggest internal roadblocks?
The source material points to three major enemies of achievement: indecision, doubt, and fear.
And they're all linked, aren't they? Indecision is called the seedling of fear.
Exactly. Indecision starts small, maybe just delaying a choice. But it quickly grows into doubt, questioning your ability, questioning the plan, and doubt and indecision together just feed the bigger monster, which is fear.
And the book outlines specific fears.
Yes, the 6 basic fears that supposedly underlie most of our anxieties: the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
And it singles out one as particularly damaging.
The fear of poverty, it's described as the most destructive because it paralyzes your ability to think clearly, it kills imagination, it cripples initiative, and it strongly encourages procrastination.
Because if you're constantly worried about lack, you can't make bold, definite plans. You're always playing defense.
Precisely. The symptoms are widespread loss of enthusiasm, undermining persistence, making self-control nearly impossible. You waste so much mental energy just managing the fear instead of executing the plan.
So what's the fix? If indecision breeds fear, what's the antidote?
The only known antidote, according to this philosophy, for worry, which stems from indecision, is making prompt and firm decisions.
Just deciding, even if it's hard.
Even if it's hard. There's a really striking, though quite grim, example given: a man condemned to execution.
Okay.
Apparently, just 2 hours before he was scheduled to die, he was remarkably calm, maybe the calmest person on death row. When asked why, he said he finally felt at peace because he had made up his mind. He decided to accept his fate, to face it with resignation and in good spirit.
Wow. So the act of making a definitive decision, even accepting the absolute worst, brought him peace.
That's the implication. It eliminated the agonizing uncertainty, the indecision, the fear of the unknown. If making a firm decision can bring peace in that situation, imagine the power it unleashes when you apply it to your business or life goals. You cut off the paralysis of what if.
You stop waffling and commit to a course of action.
Yes. You choose action, definite, organized action over endless, fearful deliberation.
Okay, so pulling this all together for you, the listener, the core message seems to be real achievement isn't about luck or just wishing. It starts with a definite, burning desire.
Mm.
That desire needs to be transformed into reality through highly organized, specific plans, fueled by unwavering persistence and faith in the process.
Right.
And crucially, you need the courage to make prompt, firm decisions, cutting through the indecision, doubt, and fear that hold so many people back.
Well summarized. And perhaps here's a final thought, something provocative for you to consider as you go about your day. The source material emphasizes again and again that both success and failure are largely the result of habit.
Have it.